And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Ben Anderson rolling solo once again. Jake Scott will be back with us coming up on Monday. Big show for you today, though. Mike Smith's going to join us coming up at 11 o'clock. We will talk about what we've seen so far from Jaren Jackson Jr. and the Utah Jazz. We got What You Got Wednesday coming up at 11:30. It's also a win ticket Wednesday, so listen throughout the show for your chance to win tickets. I believe we're sending you to go see Brian Regan coming up this weekend, so make sure you stay tuned. But I do think we need to start today with, feels like the biggest story to me, and that's that the Utah Jazz are suddenly becoming the focus of the NBA's tanking issue. And it is an issue. It's no question about it. I cover this Jazz team. I cover the NBA. I've been watching this for a long time. There is absolutely no question, and I won't defend it, that tanking is a major problem in the NBA. Obviously, it's a major problem in the NBA. I watch games every night. We had Yaron Weitzman on yesterday. He watches games every night. It's hard to find a game most nights with two teams that are trying to win at the highest level. That's an unreal issue. It's amazing that we even have to say it.
Even two playoff teams.
Even two playoff teams. Very regularly, this guy's not playing. Very regularly, this guy's injured. Very regularly, and I understand players not playing injured. I do, especially at this point in the season. We're in the dog days. It's not that advantageous. It's better to rest a guy who's 80% available and maybe in the 90s would have played through it to make sure that he's available for the postseason than to say, yeah, but didn't we have a great game on February 9th? I totally get that it's a problem. I promise you. I watch the league. I subscribe to League Pass. It's a problem every night, and I'm a victim of it too. You're a victim of it if you spend money to watch these games. I feel less of a victim about it because it is my job. I have to cover it, so it's just part of it. It doesn't matter to me that much, but I do like the idea of when I'm, done covering a Jazz game or there's no Jazz game that night and I'm still a huge NBA fan and I want to watch something, that when there's not a good game to be found, that's frustrating and that's disappointing. So I'm not saying there's not an issue in the NBA with tanking. It's one of the biggest issues, not just in the NBA, but I think in sports overall in our country. No question about it. And I will also not defend tanking. Not only is it not a problem, I won't defend it. I don't think it's right. I don't think you should be doing it. I think for a lot of teams, it's an excuse to not work harder as a front office. Now, some teams have a harder job. I will tell you legitimately, and I believe this, the Utah Jazz have a harder job to build a championship contender than the Los Angeles Lakers or the Miami Heat or the New York Knicks. Players are not looking to come live in Utah if they have 10 other choices. Players don't mind living in Utah. They don't. Guys like it here. Guys enjoy it here. But if you're picking a vacation spot and you want to go live in or go vacation in Miami or go vacation in New York or go vacation in Los Angeles or San Francisco or Dallas, maybe you like warm weather, or Atlanta, you would pick that. So if you would pick that for a vacation spot, you would also pick it for a home. So I totally understand why NBA players who, because there are a number of landing spots as a free agent, as a draft team, you may prefer to live somewhere other than Utah. I fully get that. And that does make the Jazz's job harder. I have no doubt about that. I'm also wary of the persecution complex that fans in this state can have. And look, everybody in every state, every sport has a persecution complex. Everybody thinks their team gets picked on. I try to not buy into it when I hear it. I have heard Utah football fans say, oh man, if we had just gotten a chance to play Florida, we would have been the national champions. We didn't get the playoff opportunity then. That's a problem. You might be right. You're not the only team that has that complaint. Boise State could say that. Anyone who played before the playoff can say that. So I don't think it was about you necessarily, but it's possible. BYU feels like they get left out of the college football playoff last year. We're being persecuted. Maybe Notre Dame had that same feeling this year. It does happen every year. So while I note it, I keep an eye on it, I throw it in the kind of tracking of patterns that we see. Is this consistent? Is this just a one-off? I pay attention to it. Jazz fans felt persecuted. Rudy Gobert doesn't get picked to the All-Star game. woe is me. Why are we not getting our love? Why are we not getting our shine? I pay attention. I get it. I think most teams in most states, most cities, whatever it is, have that same feeling. So I really try to not buy into it because I, A, don't think it's all that true, and B, I don't think it matters even if it is true. I don't think it actually helps your cause. So if it's not helping your cause, why spend any time on it? That's generally my rule. But what happened yesterday on ESPN with Bobby Marks was so insane to me that I actually did feel like I had to respond to it. And I went to social media and I responded. And it caused a little bit of a firestorm in my little window that I have on my social media. And if you want to see it, you can find me on Twitter at Ben's Hoops. And you can see the different things that I said and talked about. And I drew a lot of response from people, including some national media. Matt Moore came after me and said, and I'll explain what he said. But I'll let you hear from Bobby Marks. And I like Bobby Marks. When Bobby Marks is on a podcast, I listen to a lot of NBA podcasts. I will tune in. I like Bobby. His understanding of how the NBA salary cap works is as good as anybody. He used to work in the Brooklyn Nets front office. He understands this stuff. I think he's really good on that side of the game. He really understands contracts, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a really valuable listen. But for Bobby Marks to have these comments yesterday, I thought was wild. Here's what he had to say.
I think what Utah is doing right now is messing around with the integrity of the NBA. The ability to sit players, starters, in the fourth quarter, to not call timeouts in the fourth quarter. Orlando won the game on Saturday because they basically rested players. And it backfired on them last night. So I think if you're the league, you're looking at it. All right, can we do some gimmicks? Can we alter protections and eliminate protections as far as picks? Or can we put the hammer down?
Nothing that he said in that conversation is necessarily wrong, minus the fact that he singled out the Utah Jazz as ruining the integrity of the NBA. This is a former NBA front office person on ESPN, one of the biggest, if not the biggest buyer of the NBA media rights on the planet. Certainly in our country, ABC, ESPN, that's where the games are on Sundays. That's where you're going to find these games. ESPN, Monday night, whatever it is, whenever they're on TV. To call out the Utah Jazz by name and put the integrity of the league on the Jazz not playing Jaren Jackson Jr. in the fourth quarter of a basketball game 96 hours after they acquire him is the most ludicrous thing I maybe have ever heard from a media member when talking about this particular issue. It is so stupid to say that. It is so reckless to say that. Because here is the problem. People do listen. That clip was circulating all over social media yesterday. And casual fans, which by the way is everybody, fans of the NBA are largely casual. Fans of all sports are largely casual. They do not follow it that closely. I have fans who come up to me, Jazz fans, they view themselves as diehards. If I say, who's your favorite player on the team, 3 times out of 10, they're going to say Gordon Hayward. He hasn't been on the team in a decade, but that's what they're going to say. That's about the level of attention 30%, 50%, 70% of fans have, even fans who go to the games. I'm not talking about you. If you're listening right now on a Wednesday about me talking about a Utah Jazz team that has 16 wins on the season, you're a diehard. You are in the top 1%, 2% of basketball fans out there because you found it on your radio dial to listen to more sports talk. You might not qualify for this, but most people, including people in the arena, are not you. They are not diehards like you are, and even if they consider themselves a diehard, they probably can't name 3 players on the team. So when you hear a national media member talk about the Utah Jazz, it's the only time they're going to talk about the Utah Jazz this season other than the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade itself. They're not talking about the Jazz. They've got no reason to talk about the Jazz. Jazz aren't that interesting. On a national perspective, why would you talk about them when Luka's out there, when LeBron's out there, when the Oklahoma City Thunder are out there, when the Knicks are out there, all of these different issues. So to only bring them up, to say that they are solely responsible for maintaining the integrity of the NBA and not playing Jaren Jackson Jr. or Lauri Markkanen in the fourth quarter of a game is ruining that integrity. You have a head coach right now in the NBA in Chauncey Billups who got arrested by the FBI for informing gamblers that they were going to lose a game. They were going to lose a game because of who was playing. And this is on the Utah Jazz. Now, you have one of the great players of this generation. In my opinion, the second greatest player of this generation, with all due respect to Kevin Durant. I think it's LeBron, and I think the next best player, okay, I'll say third because Steph Curry's number 2, is Kawhi Leonard. 2 finals MVPs, one in San Antonio, one in Toronto. When he's on the floor, he's as good a two-way player as we've had in the NBA. He's actively being investigated for getting kickbacks financially to circumvent the salary cap to go to the Los Angeles Clippers with the wealthiest owner in all of sports. That's corruption. That's actually circumventing the rules. That's cheating. That's actually cheating. That ruins the integrity of the game. If everybody agrees to a salary cap and the richest person, one of the richest people in our country, is able to circumvent that by fake planting trees with his star player to pay him more money under the table, behind the scenes, to get him to go live in a major city in Los Angeles, that's an actual problem. That calls into question the integrity of the NBA. Resting Jaren Jackson Jr. against the Miami Heat, resting Jaren Jackson Jr., and I'm not talking the whole game. I'm talking the fourth quarter of a basketball game after he had played 25 minutes. And Christian, remind me what happened against the Miami Heat.
Oh, they won.
The Utah Jazz won.
They won.
They won the game. They won this basketball game. And let me ask you, Christian, did they get outscored by 30 points in the fourth quarter and still found a way to hold on to that victory? No. They outscored Miami in the fourth quarter. They beat them 30-29 in the fourth quarter while resting their stars and playing their young players. And that's a Utah Jazz problem? You don't have a problem with the Miami Heat, who also weren't playing Norman Powell, who also weren't playing Tyler Hero. I don't know how healthy they were, but they weren't out there playing. And this is the Utah Jazz's problem? Now, the other issue here, and Matt Moore, who used to be a national NBA writer, I don't even know what he does now, came after me on social media because I called out an example specifically. And I remember, and look, is it apples to oranges? A little bit. The Oklahoma City Thunder, I remember this game. It's why it was the first name that came to my head, but I could go of every Raptors game last year. I could go to every Brooklyn Nets game last year. I could go to every Golden State Warriors game in the second half of the season in 2011 when they tanked to get Harrison Barnes. I could go back to the Houston Rockets in the early 80s to get Hakeem Olajuwon. This has been going on forever. But Matt Moore, who's like an intelligent person, said what the Jazz did by sitting a player in the fourth quarter is worse than a team that doesn't play their star players for the entire game. Because when you do that, at least the coach can go out there and say, well, we're trying to win because we're playing the worst players that we have on our team for 48 minutes, as opposed to just not playing Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr. for 12 minutes. Reminding him that the Jazz, last time they did this, which was 48 hours ago, they won the game. To say that it's better to have a team quit on a game before it starts by putting a roster on the floor that has no chance of winning is worse than sitting star players in the fourth quarter of a game the Jazz won does make me think that this is a personal issue, that this is an issue you have with the Utah Jazz or Danny Ainge or Will Hardy or Lauri Markkanen or Jaren Jackson Jr. And I don't know why. That's what I think I struggle with. Why the Utah Jazz? Who cares? Why would anybody care at that point? Is it just because it's easy? Maybe. Jazz are an easy punching bag. Never won a title. Karl Malone is a bad guy in the history of the NBA. John Stockton goes out there and is making a fool of himself right now on podcasts. It's easy to say the Jazz don't matter. LeBron James, I think it was Kevin Durant, whoever were the heads of the captains of the All-Star game when they started doing the All-Star draft, made fun of the Jazz on national TV during the draft. They said, we never played with the Jazz on video games growing up, so we're not going to pick Lauri Markkanen to be on our team. And they were laughing about it openly. Not going to pick, I think it was actually Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. They laughed about it. The Jazz have been a punching bag. Maybe it's that simple that they continue to be a punching bag. But to focus on them right now, as recklessly as what we saw from Bobby Marks yesterday, and maybe we should play the clip again, to call into question the integrity of the NBA is bizarre to me. Let's hear it one more time.
I think what Utah is doing right now is messing around with the integrity of the NBA. The ability to sit players, starters, in the fourth quarter, to not call timeouts in the fourth quarter. Orlando won the game on Saturday because they basically rested players. And it backfired on them last night. So I think if you're the league, you're looking at it. All right, can we do some gimmicks? Can we alter protections and eliminate protections as far as picks? Or can we put the hammer down?
I don't have a problem with fixing tanking. If you can find a way to do it, do it. I absolutely agree. To say that the Utah Jazz are the face of this is stupid. I mean, it's lazy. It's horrible work from a media member who does know better than this. And then if I actually want to argue what's better, because I talked about how casual NBA fans are. I ran into a friend at a Jazz game. If you don't know, media before Jazz games goes and eats in the Toyota Club. It's where all the other fans eat right now. The Jazz are figuring out their catering for the media before the game. So right now the solution is just go eat up in the Toyota Club. That's where you're going to eat your food. Very nice of the Utah Jazz to continue to feed us. I ran into a friend there, basketball fan, knows the game pretty well. 15 minutes before tip-off, they were like, "Hey, looking forward to this game." And I said, "Oh, well, Lowry's not playing. Like, don't get too excited. Like, this isn't going to be a great game that you're watching. Like, the product you are actually about to watch is not that good." They had no idea Lauri Markkanen was not going to be playing in this game. They had no idea that was the case. And they're like a real basketball fan. You know what they would have loved? Have him start the game. Have Lauri out there for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, which, by the way, go and look at how often the Jazz players over the last couple of games are playing exactly 25 minutes before getting pulled. If you want me to put on my tinfoil hat, that's a directive. That's a directive from somebody above them. Maybe it's the NBA. I don't know. But to play 25 minutes, so when people check box scores, it looks like they played a full game and they're getting pulled. If you're mad about why the Jazz are doing it this way, I would tell you to look higher than the Utah Jazz making this decision of who's playing what minutes and why. But if you want to make an argument, I remember, look, I'll get a little distracted here. I grew up in the state of Utah. My brother grew up in the state of Utah. Older than I am. We both played junior jazz growing up. I remember being jealous that my brother got junior jazz basketball tickets because those are the games we got to go to. My parents weren't able to buy a lot of tickets. We went to the junior jazz tickets. I'm sure a lot of Jazz fans have that same opportunity, or that was their same opportunity to go see the Jazz play. I remember being jealous my brother got to go see David Robinson play. He got to go watch the Spurs play, and he will remember that he got to see David Robinson play for the rest of his life. Do you think my brother could tell you whether or not the Jazz won that game? Do you think he has any concept of it? No. But you know what he can say? Yeah, I saw David Robinson play. You know what Miami Heat fans can say? You know what Orlando Magic fans can say? Because they're going to be casual fans because that's 98% of the people in the building. I saw Jaren Jackson Jr. and Lauri Markkanen play. What's the problem? Oh, I didn't know they weren't on the floor in the fourth quarter. I had no idea. And you know what I was happy about? My team actually did come back and win the game. The Orlando Magic were celebrating on the floor winning that game. It was ridiculous. The Jazz weren't trying to win that game. Bobby Marks is right about that. They were not trying to win that game. But if you were a fan and you bought a ticket to the game, you saw Lauri, you saw Jaren Jackson Jr., you saw Yusuf Nurkic, you saw Keontae George, I think, for the first half of the game before he got hurt. You don't know who's on the floor in the fourth quarter. Most fans don't. So if that's going to be your big issue, and you think it's better to just sit guys entirely, that the integrity of the game is based on whether they play the fourth quarter or not, I think is absolutely absurd. I think what Bobby Marks did was bizarre. I would tell you, I'd be willing to bet in the next week, if not today, he will come out and retract that statement and apologize. And if I were the member of the Utah Jazz, I don't represent the Jazz at all. But if I were Justin Zanuck or Austin Ainge, especially right now, my first year on the job, Danny Ainge, who has the history that he does, Ryan Smith, who's the owner of these teams and owns another professional sports team, I would raise hell. I would be at ESPN right now. I would be talking to their people. I'd be talking to their producers. And I would want to know, why are we getting singled out? Why are you letting somebody go on and make us the face of the NBA's problem right now? Do we take part in it? Sure. So does half the rest of the NBA. And over a long enough period of time, everybody in the NBA has done it. So if I were the Jazz right now, I would be incensed at Bobby Marks specifically, but that ESPN allowed it to go over the air. And I'm not kidding. And I know that sounds dramatic, and everyone's got to have opinions. Those opinions do sway public opinion. Those conversations do actually matter in the big picture. And I would want to know why the Utah Jazz specifically, if I worked for that company, were becoming the face of it. Because I think it was bizarre, and I won't be surprised if in the next 24 hours, Bobby Marks comes out and says, I was wrong to say the Utah Jazz, because he was. Because he was wrong to put it on the Utah Jazz, and it's bizarre. And I don't know why he did it. Maybe he doesn't come out. Maybe it is a personal problem. I have no idea. But it was insane, and it was wrong, and it was bizarre. The Jazz fans, I think, have to carry some of that.
Yeah, well, you almost wonder, too, if he's kind of parroting things that he has heard from other maybe front office members who don't have the platform or who don't want to come out and say it, right? Maybe he is choosing to kind of be the face of this and the voice of this. But regardless of why he's saying it, it is wrong and it is unfortunate because that does put the target on the Utah Jazz from people around the country who already don't like the Jazz.
I think that's part of it. I also do think the Jazz are gaming the system in a correct way. That is, now they do have 2 All-Stars on their roster, and Keontae George looks like a future All-Star, and you've got Ace Bailey, and now you're adding another top 8 pick to it. I mean, if you want to say that, like, the Jazz are playing this system better than anyone else, I'd listen. It's not true. Other teams have gamed the system extraordinarily well. The Oklahoma City Thunder are loaded with talent. They've gamed the system extraordinarily well. The Warriors did by getting Harrison Barnes on a team that already had Steph Curry and was building out with Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson was going to get all these pieces. Everyone's done it. They've all done it. Teams have done this consistently. But yeah, the Jazz are about to be good quickly, and part of it is because of how aggressively they tanked. No question about it. I'm not arguing with that in the slightest. But to say that they're responsible for it is bizarre. And then, yeah, I gotta mention here. Jimmy Robinson says, can you make an argument that the past couple of games is maximizing the growth of Ace? The first half, he gets to try to mesh with the future lineup. In the fourth, he gets to get more shots up, including crucial game with shots with game on the line. That is what the Jazz are doing. Like, go back and look at the fourth quarter and look at who played in that game in Miami and who's playing in Orlando. It's not Oscar Tshiebwe. It's not two-way player Blake Hinson. It's not Elijah Harkless. It is 2 lottery picks that were top 10 picks in the last 2 years. It's Ace Bailey and Cody Williams. Those guys have to play. You have to get those guys on the floor. You have to develop those players if you're trying to make the playoffs next season. Vince Williams Jr. and John Conchar, who have 12 years of combined NBA experience between them, were on the floor in this game. They were out there playing. Those guys do matter to what the Utah Jazz is doing. Kyle Filipowski and Isaiah Collier were borderline all-rookie team members last year. They need opportunities to play. So, yeah, if you give them minutes in the fourth quarter, they've got to get out there. And I don't know when you want the Jazz to do it. Do you not want Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr. to play the third quarter? Do you not want them to play the second quarter? Is that better, that those guys just come out there and play in the second quarter and the Jazz find themselves down 20 at half, and then you put it on Jaren Jackson Jr. and Lauri Markkanen to build a comeback? Like, I'm not sure what people are trying to regulate as far as the minutes go. And I think that's one of the bizarre aspects of this as well.
Well, yesterday you said spinning plates, right? There are all these different goals that the Jazz are trying to accomplish throughout these final 27 or whatever remaining games. Losing games is one of those plates. Developing Ace Bailey and Cody Williams is one of those plates. Seeing how Vince Williams and John Conchar fit with the rest of this roster over the next year or two is one of those plates.
Yes.
So they're not doing this specifically to maximize Ace Bailey's development, but that happens to line up with some of the other goals so they can do all of these things at once.
And here's the problem with the tanking conversation. The truth is, the further you zoom out, the more tanking is a winning strategy. And I know that doesn't make sense. Lose games today is a winning strategy. On the micro, it's bad. On the micro, no question about it. On the macro, it works. And that's the biggest problem with tanking, is it works. The Mavericks were right to tank to get Derek Lively because the next year they made the finals. End of story. End of story. You tank and you get rewarded with Tim Duncan. You win 5 titles over the next 20 years. It's good for you. It's good for your individual franchise. Is it bad for the league? Yeah. We don't reward winning enough, and we reward losing too much. No question about it. But to make the Utah Jazz the face of tanking is bizarre. Top 3 stories coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals are honoring those who impact youth sports in our community. Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at kslsports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. It's kslsports.com/contest. KSLSports.com/contest. It is time for the top 3 stories of the day, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. J. Brooks, cherish your loved ones with J. Brooks Jewelers. You can find them online, jbrooksjewelers.com, and explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. Valentine's Day is coming up on Saturday. I'd recommend stopping by today on your way home from work. Christian, where are we starting today?
Number 1, big game for the Cougs last night. They snap their 4-game losing streak at Baylor. A.J. DeBonsa and Rob Wright each played the entire 40 minutes.
This was a game that BYU needed. It wasn't a must-win. I don't necessarily believe in that last night, but BYU needed this type of victory badly, and they got it. And before I get into why it was great, because it didn't solve all of their problems. They gave up 94 points. They gave up 37 points to a true freshman. A.J. DeBonsa's defense is still not good enough. He's got to find a way to impact the game more on that, and it's not just on him. It's the rest of the roster as well. We know Richie Saunders is not going to be a great defensive player. They've got to figure out how to fix that. Yada, yada, yada. I get it. BYU so badly needed this exact type of victory against another star lottery pick freshman in Yesufu from Baylor to come out there and win a game in which once again they started slowly and they were down, double digits, if not close, early in the first half. Battled back, tied the game up at halftime, and then played in a very difficult environment in Baylor where BYU is going to have a huge target on their back, not just because the number 1 or number 2 overall pick is coming into their home arena to play, but also because it features Robert Wright, former Baylor star who left Baylor to go play at BYU. So BYU was going to have a huge target on their back going into this game, and they found a way to get a victory facing what adversity you face in that situation. That was what was impressive. Furthermore, and maybe most importantly, is that it's not Neo in the Matrix recognizing that he's the one. But I did think there were moments where A.J. DeBonsa looked around and the game felt slow to him and he realized, I'm just going to drive past this dude and dunk on him. I'm just going to drive past this dude and use my superior athleticism, ball handling, size to finish at the rim or pull up for a mid-range jump shot. It felt like all the pieces fit together for AJ the best they could. And truthfully, because of the way BYU's roster is built, because they still only got 4 points off their bench last night, they are not going to get a lot from Keba Keita because the shots simply are not there for him to shoot a whole lot. He had 4 personal fouls in 15 minutes last night. He was not as good as I think he needs to be if BYU is going to make a serious run to the Final Four. But with that being the case, AJ does have to become the LeBron James of college basketball. And he went out and in 40 minutes scored 36 points. He had 7 assists. He had 5 rebounds, all of which led the team minus the 5 rebounds, but those were third most on the team behind Saunders and behind Bop off the bench. So that's what they needed to do. So good for AJ. He had to come out and be a superstar, and he was. And that's what BYU is going to need the rest of the season. They need him to come out and be that guy every night if they want to compete at the highest level.
BYU had a pretty sizable lead like halfway through the second half, and then Baylor started to kind of claw back towards the end of the game. And for a true freshman, it would be really easy to kind of sense that collapse impending and start to panic. But BYU kept going back to AJ. They kept going back to him, and it didn't faze him at all. He just kept doing his thing. And, I mean, how many games in a row has he scored 30 points, right? He has been phenomenal over the last 2 weeks. You mentioned the defense needs to improve, but offensively, AJ has been everything that BYU has dreamed of and more.
Yeah, and he's going to have to continue to be because, I don't know if he's going to become elite superstar defensive player. And maybe it's because of the burden he has to carry offensively. Like when he gets to the NBA and he doesn't have to score 35 a night for BYU to have a chance or for his team to have a chance, maybe his defense is going to improve. It needs to if he wants to be, one of the all-time great players. And the truth is he has those types of tools. He has that type of upside to be one of the great players over the next 10, 15 years in the NBA. But it's going to take improvement, as is the case with everybody. I also want to recognize that teams get better. Players get better. You have to face adversity throughout the season. Now, the hard part in college is you just don't have a very long season to improve. A lot of guys don't make huge strides throughout the season, but the best players do. Cooper Flagg last year, by the end of the season, was worlds better than where he was at the beginning of the season at Duke. Same can be said for Con Knipple. And if you can get that from AJ, we still have not gotten close to seeing BYU's overall potential this year. And I'm leaving room for him to continue to get better and this team to continue to get better, even this late in the regular season, to make a big run in March. And last night might have been the first step. All right, what's next?
Number 2, ultimate tank-off tonight, Jazz versus the Kings.
I will say the Jazz aren't tanking this game, and I don't know who's going to play in the fourth quarter or the second quarter or the first quarter. I don't think the league should mandate how many minutes you play, though I think they may have told the Jazz, we really like it when your guys play 25 minutes, and maybe we will lay off you if they play 25 minutes. That's purely my guess. I could be making that up, but that is something I would guess. But the Jazz last night sent out an injury report. I don't remember exactly what time it was, 6 o'clock, maybe a little bit earlier than that, 4 o'clock. And it said, Lauri Markkanen out for rest. The entire Twitter world was going crazy about the Jazz not playing players in the fourth quarter. 40 minutes later, I don't know if Lauri had a great nap, but the Jazz updated, Lauri Markkanen updated, available. My true belief is that the Jazz saw the injury report from the Sacramento Kings at the same time. And if you're a Kings fan in Salt Lake City, A, God bless you. B, you're not going to see any of the players from that team actually get on the floor. I don't have it up in front of me right now. Maybe you can pull it up quickly, Christian, but I believe it's no Russell Westbrook. It's no Zach LaVine. I believe it's no DeMar DeRozan. It's no Sabonis. You're not going to see any of their better players.
Malik Monk as well.
Malik Monk also out. They are tanking this game.
And DeAndre Hunter.
You're right, who they just acquired at the trade deadline. Oh, so many of these players have been available in recent games. It's weird that they all can't play. I wonder if we should throw the integrity of the NBA on this game between the Sacramento Kings and the Utah Jazz on Wednesday, February 11th. I'm not going to do that. I think that would be ridiculous. But you're not going to see them. And I think what the Jazz did, honestly, is they saw that injury report. They said, oh, we could try to lose this game. In fact, they did against Miami, and it didn't work. We could try to lose this game against Sacramento. It's just not going to happen. So we're going to go out there and win this game. Lowry's going to be available. Jaren Jackson's going to be available. This is going to be one of the last times I think you're going to see the Jazz, especially at home, because, again, the player participation policy does not apply the same at home as it does on the road. I think this is going to be one of the last times, if not the only time this season, you see the starting lineup that features Jaren Jackson Jr., Lauri Markkanen, and Jusuf Nurkic all together. I think they're going to hammer the Kings. They're going to give Jazz fans a big reason to celebrate Jaren Jackson Jr. being on the team. And then I suspect we will see far more aggressive injury report from the Jazz tomorrow with rest, despite the fact that they're going into the All-Star break the game after against the Portland Trailblazers. All right, what's next?
Number 3, Ben, that's a nice big glass floor you got over there.
What did you say?
Big glass.
Oh, a big glass
That's a big
floor.
glass floor over there.
The Big 12 announced a new floor. It's going to be used during the conference tournament. It looks cool. It absolutely looks cool. I will tell you, my most curmudgeonly take is that we do too much with basketball floors. I do not like the in-season tournament floors. I think they're insane. I do think we are a grown-up league if we're covering basketball, especially now at the college level with the guys getting paid. You can say, let's just have hardwood. Let's just make it look like classic basketball, because in 10 years when we look back at these highlights and we're going to say, what was going on with that floor? If you've ever watched a Charlotte Hornets game, it's almost unwatchable. It looks like a cartoon. It looks like a Nickelodeon show. What they can do with this is awesome. And it is amazing. And I think as long as they wield this power responsibly, to explain if you don't know what's going on, the Big 12 floor, it's basically a huge LED screen. It's a huge screen, like an iPad screen, that they can change logos, colors, et cetera, fully customizable. I think as long as you do less with it, it's going to be better. If you want to do awesome pregame introductions, show the players' faces, I'm all for that. I think it's great. I hope during the game it doesn't become chaotic. That's one issue. And then the second is because we have seen this in recent years when teams go out there and try and bring in new floors. There are issues with condensation regularly. I do hope that we don't have any games delayed or put off or postponed because there is something wrong with the actual playing surface, because you can have players get hurt. That's a real issue. I know it seems, pearl clutchy. That actually is a fear I would have for this court. Otherwise, I think it can be cool. And if they do it right, I think it can be excellent, and it can be the future of how we watch basketball. But they talked about putting shot zones out there, putting a shooting percentage from certain spots on the floor out there when guys are playing. I hope we don't see that. That's too much. If you want to watch that on a second broadcast, an alternate broadcast on your subscription, that's fine. Don't force it down people's throats during live action.
Would it be during live action or during all the freaking timeouts that they have?
I would suspect it's during the 15 timeouts that we have in college basketball, or the 90-minute halftime that we get. I think that's when they would do it. I hope. But again, less will be more in this situation.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of what they do with the ice during NHL games, right? They project cool graphics and for the intros,
which is great,
whatever
Love
on there,
it.
Which can be cool, yeah. But also at the same time, there is a very real chance that this falls on its face and looks dumb, and everybody was like, "Oh, what was the whole point of that?"
Or the court's not playable. Like that's a concern. So I'm going to trust it now. I'm not going to write it off. I just hope they do it responsibly because it can be a tool. But I know me. I buy a new computer or phone or whatever, and I want to unlock it and see how fast I can get it going. I want to use every little function it has. They need to do the opposite. They need to say, "Here's the logo. We changed it. Isn't that convenient? Doesn't that make it nice for people watching at home?" I hope they don't go nuts with it. All right, we have an update on our Norwegian biathlete who admitted to cheating on his girlfriend yesterday. We will update the story coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson
1, 2, 3, move it.
on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Mike Smith's going to join us coming up in about 10 minutes. We'll talk everything Utah Jazz and Jaren Jackson Jr. Right now, though, it is Wednesday. We want you to be caller number 12, 801-575-ZONE, 801-575-ZONE. You're going to win a pair of tickets to see comedian Brian Regan coming up this weekend, Saturday at Delta Center, February 14th. Seats are still available at SeatGeek.com. If you do not win, but be the 12th caller through right now, 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE, and go see Brian Regan coming up this weekend. Speaking of Valentine's Day, the best blanket ever is also the best Valentine's gift ever. Exclusive Valentine's blankets are only available right now at Minky Couture. You can save 50% using promo code ZONE50 at Minky Couture stores and online at minkycouture.com. Zone50 either in person or online, and you can join Scotty today. He's going to be at Minky Couture in Layton. So make sure and go check him out. Best blanket ever. Also the best Valentine's gift ever. A quick update to a story we mentioned yesterday. Took the world by storm in light of Valentine's Day. Kind of. The biathlete from Norway, Sturla Holm Lagerud, I'm sure I'm saying his name wrong. I apologize. Admitted yesterday after winning the bronze medal in the biathlon that he had in fact cheated on his love of his life. His gold medal, he said. He met her 6 months ago. 3 months ago, he said he made the biggest mistake of his life by cheating on her and came out and said, I made the biggest mistake of my life and cheated on her. He was fighting back tears, but he wanted to share this with her. And he said maybe by committing, quote, social suicide, she would fall in love with him and come back to him. Unfortunately, this may not have a happy ending. He said, this is what she said. Now, this was according to, let me see, make sure I get the tabloid VG in Norway, caught up with this woman who chose to remain anonymous and totally understandable. She wrote, or she said to the tabloid, it's hard to forgive, even after a declaration of love in front of the whole world. She was not quite ready to be with him yet. So we will see. A short statement. But they did track her down, which credit to them. I don't know if he had photos posted on his social media. I don't know if he went out and told somebody behind the scenes who it was. She, again, has chosen to remain anonymous. But she said it's hard to forgive, even after a declaration of love in front of the whole world. Ultimate, do you remember the Seinfeld episode? You may not. Talking about having upper hand in a relationship. She's got the most upper hand in a relationship of all time. She never has to go back to him. And she can play this card going forward that, do you remember the guy who in the Olympics called his girlfriend a gold medal that he had cheated on? That's me. I'm that woman. She can play that card for the rest of her life, and maybe she'll hold on to it. Maybe
how do you feel about this whole saga? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, infinitely avoidable, right? So easy to avoid. Like this guy, I don't know how old Sturla is. Prime athlete at the Olympics, was he 22? 23 years old. Look, 22 and 23-year-olds are doing dumb things. They're doing dumb things in relationships. I hope you're not cheating on whoever. But you would not be the first. Sturla's not the first here. It does happen in this world, unfortunately. Did you find out his age? Do you know how old he is?
He's 28. Yeah.
28. A little dicier at that point. But yeah, a little older. Not the first person to ever cheat on their ex-girlfriend, especially. So you can move on. You can forgive people and put that behind you.
The declaration of love in front of the entire world, though.
It really is not fair.
Corny?
I get it. I do think it's sincere. I do think it's a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Not abusive. It's a little gaslighty to come out there and be like, now I'm going to put all the pressure on you to take me back. She doesn't owe it to him to take him back. She could have broken up with him if he didn't cheat on her. It doesn't matter. She doesn't have to do anything she doesn't want to. It's a relationship. You can break up. You can be together, whatever you want. For him to put all this focus on her, and good for her for at least to this point, not revealing her identity or nobody doxing her or whatever, finding her identity. The fact that she had to talk to somebody and clear this out and become a national story is a little unfair on his end, especially now that she was the person who was wronged in this situation. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if she was even more frustrated and his declaration backfired because now...
Yeah, what are you doing, dude?
She's a little bit of not a joke, but she's a little bit of a... You had one of your worst things that's ever happened to you exposed on a worldwide scale. That I feel for her.
Yeah, now all 12 of Sturla's fans are going to go after her.
Yeah, right, exactly. The diehards will go after her, take him back. He's our gold medal. But now she is a little bit of a punchline, unfortunately. So, Sturla, you tried. Sounds like it's going to fail, but there's still time before the Olympics end and before the Valentine's Day is here.
Sturla, enjoy the Olympic Village.
Yeah, you know what? I have heard Tinder goes crazy.
You hear crazy stories about the Olympic Village.
So, in fact, to the point where they build poorly made beds on purpose. To
Collapsible.
Make sure that more than one person can't be in the bed at any one time. So, well, that was at least during COVID. Good luck, Sturla. We're all kind of rooting for you. Mike Smith joins us next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. A very happy Wednesday to everybody out there. Go and see Alex and JJ tomorrow. They're going to be at the RV show Thursday, 3 to 6 at the Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Your opportunity to shop, compare, and buy the RV of your dreams. It's the RV show at Mountain America Expo Center with JJ and Alex tomorrow. Let's welcome in our next guest. You can catch him on Utah Jazz pre-half and post-game shows on TV. Longtime NBA player, Mike Smith. What's going on, Mike?
Hi, Ben. How are you?
I'm doing terrific. I've enjoyed watching the new-look Utah Jazz over the last week. Jaren Jackson Jr. Has changed the narrative around the Utah Jazz, and we knew it was going to happen at some point. We knew the rebuild was going to end. I'm not sure anyone was prepared for how quickly he would make this big of an impact. Are you surprised at how much it seems like things have changed over just 2 games?
Well, I realize the optimism and hope and belief that has been restored, all that came with the big trade because it's just so difficult. Ben, as you and I both know, it's just really, really difficult to make a trade for an all-star who's under the age of 30, who doesn't have baggage, right? He comes from good genes. He's got dad's DNA. He just has a good pedigree. He's a 2-time all-star. He plays on both ends of the floor. All those things. I think it's true. I'm not sure it's true. I know it's true among the first 5 guys that were chosen in his draft, meaning like DeAndre Ayton and Marvin Bagley and Luka Doncic, and then Trae Young is 5. Jaren Jackson is 4. I think he's the only one that had not changed teams. And that's like a huge statement. So they not only get a guy who impacts play on both ends and elevates what you really need, because they needed more shooting. They need, for sure, more defense and versatility. But you also get a guy who's full of character and, wants to be here. Those are all wins. So, I'm not surprised at the impact he's had in just, a couple short games on a road trip. I am surprised and marvel that Danny and Justin and Austin and Ryan and Will were able to pull off such a deal. So I'm really happy for the fan base, and I think the prospects are bright looking forward to next year.
Mike, I'll take it a step further. He's the only player from the 2018 draft in the first round who hadn't been traded in the first round, period, unless you count Miles Bridges. But Miles Bridges was actually drafted by the Clippers and traded to the Hornets on draft night. He's played every game with the team he really kind of started his career with. But every player in the first round is either out of the NBA or has been traded. It's very, very bizarre. But I think it's a good point to lead off of. We talked about this a little bit on this show. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to piggyback and just say you're right. That's even more to that point. And go ahead.
It's a weird spot that he fell into to Memphis, and I understand why fans, maybe wouldn't recognize it from being in Salt Lake City. He got drafted to a team that still had Mike Conley. And the thought was, okay, Mike's an all-star, or Mike's a borderline all-star. He hadn't made an all-star at that point, but he was the face of the franchise. And that eventually Jaren, very young coming out of Michigan State, was going to develop into the franchise piece. He was going to be the star. And while they were waiting for that to happen, they trade Mike Conley, and they get Ja Morant 3 months later, I think, in the draft, and Ja takes over the franchise. I mean, on the court and off the court. Everything is rearranged to make Ja comfortable, to make his dad, T. Morant, comfortable. And then Ja is so dynamic on the floor, it makes sense, well, that's your superstar. And Jaren never really gets to have the team become his own. And I'm starting to look at what's happening, even just through 2 games in Utah, and I think this might be the first time you're going to have Jaren Jackson on a roster that is built to maximize what he does, as opposed to him being a supporting player to someone like Ja Morant or like Mike Conley.
I think it's such a good point. And maybe because Ja Morant burst onto the scene with such prominence and such success right away, like he was truly unguardable. Like that first playoff series of his where I think Golden State beats them, but like it was down to the wire. Like they had no answer for him. And he was he put so much pressure on their defense by how he could get into the paint and get where he wanted. So maybe, it's inevitable that a presence like that, a physical specimen like that, kind of forced Jaren to take a backseat. And I don't know Jaren's personality all that much yet. He seems like a great guy. I'm sure over the next 3-4 years I'm going to get to know every part of him when I spend time with him. But what I like about his elevated play is that it appears that it would not detract from or take from, say, his other star forward in Lauri Markkanen. Like in the games that they've been together, they don't steal from one another. Like on the first game, 27 for Lowry and 22 for Jaren. They both played under 30 minutes, and it just seemed like they played off each other. And, like, Lowry's got to be so thrilled out of his mind to have another, prominent piece on the roster, for one, to take some pressure off the load he has to carry every night. But secondly, the skills don't overlap, right? You can space out Jaren Jackson. You can post him up. You can do different things, and I think they're going to get along beautifully. So, yeah, to your point, maybe he emerges, as the alpha that he was in college.
He's also a very nice person by all accounts. And, I'm sure you know these guys, Mike, as long as you've been around the league. Your dad plays in the NBA. You just kind of have a sense of the league that's different than a lot of people. You kind of know how to approach it as a professional, and pretty consistently it's a good marker for a player's career if they have a parent or an older brother or something like that played in the NBA that can kind of show them the ropes before they get there. So with that said, Jaren never said a bad thing about Memphis, nor should he. Good for him. I do think they supported him. But it was a mess. It's been a mess in Memphis for the last several years. Part of it because of Ja Morant's off-the-court issues. Part of it because, sometimes they just didn't realize their potential on the floor. I do wonder if just getting a new start in a new city culturally will be beneficial for his game.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And it's been a mess in Memphis because they fired Taylor Jenkins, let's be honest. Like, yes, Ja's stuff off the court has really impacted them, but they got rid of a coach who all he did was win. Like, all he did was win and get those guys to play really good basketball, no matter who was on the court. And they had a good thing going. Now, I will give them credit. Like, sometimes it takes teams like Sacramento Kings a lot of years to realize you're not doing the right thing or you're making mistakes. Sacramento, by the way, Ben, as you know, one playoff appearance in 20 years.
Yeah, it's a mess.
It's a mess. That's the Jazz opponent tonight. And that one playoff appearance is like only 3 years ago, right? 3 or 4 years ago when they had the number one offense in the league. and now it's just, a mere fraction of what it was. They're dismal and terrible. But I give Memphis credit in this. It didn't take them 7 years to realize they were a mess. So, yeah, they made some mistakes. But between the trades, between Bane and Jaren Jackson, they ended up with like 7 first-round picks. So, and they still got Jaws trading piece to rebuild and hopefully, get something going in the right direction. But it's going to take them some time. But I always give teams credit who recognize errors and say, okay, it's time to start over. It's not unlike what the Jazz did, 3-4 years ago. That was different. They weren't a mess. It was just Danny's vision, Ryan's vision. We want to win. I don't just want to be competitive. I want to win it all. I want to bring a championship to this team, to this state, to this fan base. Can we do it as presently constituted? And the consensus was no. And those theories are playing out. Like, I don't know that Donovan is going to take a team's number one player to a finals. Cleveland's okay. They're not great. Donovan is a really great player. But that's maybe not enough in Cleveland. Thus, they just made a move. Rudy is a fantastic player, limited in some regards, but fantastic. Can he take Minnesota to a title? I don't think so. Certainly is not your B player. If he's your fifth best player, then yeah, maybe. But they got it right. And it just takes time. I also really reward management for not making, let's say, ancillary, non-transitional moves at trading deadlines that would have amounted to nothing but except busyness. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was pressure on Danny and Justin in years past. What are you going to do at the trade deadline? You have so many picks. You have so much of this. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And Danny always used to say to me, he said, I'm not just going to do something to do something. Like, that makes no sense. Why would I just do that? That guy's the same good as this guy. Why would I just make a horizontal move? So they were smart, and they can still be smart. They still have a cupboard full of assets, and you're going to find a team who's desperate and needs to make a move, and you go get the next piece, and whatever that next piece is. Hopefully that next piece is a top 3 pick in the draft this summer. But, if short of that, go get yourself a great wing defender, to match some of the other defensive things you're now getting, and you are a playoff team next year. I think they are a playoff team next year at full strength.
So do I. You've talked a lot about, breaking down big men. You were a big man in the NBA, which is interesting. You actually spread the floor a little bit like Jaren Jackson Jr. as well. You had an approach that was similar to what Jaren's able to do. What I've been amazed at how holistically he's impacted the team quickly. We see trades and a guy will come in and it takes a while to adjust, and you see a couple of their natural strengths, but rarely do they fit in right away. What's maybe impressed you most through the first 2 games, 50 minutes that we've seen Jaren Jackson Jr. on the court as far as what he's been able to do to impact the team?
I still think he's a left-hander. I still think he was born left-handed and was given a basketball and told to shoot it right-handed. Like, as I watch him play, then everything he does naturally or instinctively gravitates towards the left. It's his preferred dunking hand. It's his preferred jump hook hand. It's his preferred shot blocking hand. But yet he shoots free throws, jump shots, 3-pointers right-handed, and equally as good as his left-hand jump hook is his right-hand jump hook. So that impresses me. But I think he's kind of I think it goes back to this, father played in the NBA. He's got a good idea of how to conduct himself. I think that plays into transitioning to a new team. Not that he had experience doing it, but he kind of knows that I'm not going to demand the ball. I'm just going to go do my thing. And he said initially, I learned very quickly in the first practice, I better move from a Will Hardy scheme. Like, if I'm not moving, I'm wrong. And in this offense, I better move. So even when he's been wrong, and let's just say wrong because he hasn't had enough time to know where to go, he's smart enough to move and move the ball. And so those two traits will play well as he goes forward, because this team really does move the ball. And it's only the rare case when they'll get a little bit stagnant. It hasn't happened in a while. It did happen in some close games, let's say in the first half of the season, fourth quarter, and they got a little bit isolation happier. Somebody had a hot hand. They tried to force feed the ball. But when they move, they got enough guys that move well enough, good things are going to happen. I just think Jaren's skills are variegated enough that he's going to fit in wherever, as a post-up guy, as a smaller five, as a stretch four, as a stretch five, as a pick-and-roll guy. You know, the big action they've been getting in the last game was terrific. Like whether it was Lowry to Jaren or vice versa, or Nurkic to one of the two and vice versa, is impressive. Like, watch tonight. I know a couple guys aren't playing, right? I think Keontae's out. Lowry might be out tonight.
Lowry's available.
And oh, good.
Yeah, he's been upgraded to available. Jaren's playing.
Oh, and is Jaren available?
Yep.
Awesome. Watch tonight the Jazz, let's say, prominence in the paint. Like I think they will destroy Sacramento in the paint. Like, just size and the ability to put 3 7-footers out there or two and play them in different positions. And Sacramento truly struggles at eliminating or nullifying the opposition's presence in the paint. They just do not have that component right now. And Sacramento's not playing anybody, I think I read, but I don't know. But anyway, it's kind of fun and exciting, and hats off to the team for a great move, and congratulations to Jaren. He seems like a great fit, and I'll probably see you there tonight.
Absolutely, you will. Mike, quickly on after this trade was made, I remember thinking, I think there's a real chance Jaren Jackson Jr. becomes the third option, because Lowry's averaging 27 points a game and Keontae's averaging 24 points a game. And through his first two games, he's looked like the number one option because of the ease with which he can score. He can get to the paint. He can actually post up. He can get there in isolation, which is actually pretty unique for the Jazz's front court as far as big guys go. He's clearly a very dangerous three-point shooter. Is there a chance he does end up as the Jazz's number one offensive option?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess. I just think those other two are better scorers. Isn't that interesting? The jump Keontae's made, his ability to shoot in the mid-range, his ability to get to the rim. Keontae's become a really good layup maker, too. And you know that I think that's a skill that is developed and not necessarily born with. Like, Steph's a great layup maker. Kyrie's a great layup maker. LeBron, believe it or not, is a great layup maker. It's a skill. And Keontae did not have a clue early on, year 1 and 2, like how to finish at the rim, but he's become like fantastic at scoring even off the wrong foot with the wrong hand and things like that. And Lowry is just so versatile and so dynamic that honestly, Ben, it doesn't matter to me, right? Like, if you've got three guys that can score 20 or 25 on a given night, what a fantastic, problem to have. It doesn't matter to me. And I don't think it matters to any one of those three. We know it doesn't matter to Lowry. If Keontae keeps ascending, he might be a 30-point scorer at some point because of the position he plays and his athleticism. But I think Jaren is right where he will end up. But that's not a bad thing. He could be 19 to 22 for the next 6 years. And if that's your case, you're like thrilled out of your mind.
I'm totally with you. And the one thing I would say is I kind of want it to matter to Lowry if I'm a Jazz fan. I want to make sure Lowry doesn't allow himself to fall back to being the third option, because if he does that, he's being underutilized, and at that point he's being overpaid. I think Lowry needs to make sure he puts a real emphasis on still scoring at a high level.
I had not thought about that, but I couldn't agree with you more. I think you're right. You're right. And he's ascended this year from even his best year, which was his first year with the Jazz 4 ago, and he should be thinking the same way. Yeah, this is my team, and I'm scoring 27 point whatever this year. I'm going to take it to 29 next year. He should. He's 28. He's not 32.
And he's got one of the best physical profiles and offensive skill sets in the NBA. I think if he lets the game come to him, I actually wonder if that's a mistake. I think he needs to make sure he puts a stamp on it. Hey, Mike, great stuff as always. I will see you tonight at the game. Thanks for jumping on.
You're welcome, Ben. We would never think this about Lowry, but like in his youth, like age 14, his mom's driving him to Helsinki, like 3 hours away from his family, and taking him to an elite basketball camp. And he's got a suitcase, and mom takes him in. He gets into his dorm room. And you just don't see this because Lowry is this statuesque figure today with this 7-foot physique that is desirable, right? Like, it's like, wow, I wish I were built like that. But at 13, 14, he's just this skinny twig who was shy and, an introvert. And his mom drops him off at this camp, and his last words to his mom are, "Mom, I don't think I'm going to unpack my suitcase just yet." And she's like, "Well, why not? You're here for a week." And he goes, "Yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it more than a day." Like, it's funny to me to hear those stories and now look at the eventuality of what became of that kid. He is a grown man, and he is an NBA stud.
Mike, great stuff. We'll talk to you again tonight and next week.
Okay, see you, Ben.
There he is, Mike Smith, giving us a breakdown on Jaren Jackson Jr. and the Utah Jazz. When we come back, what you got Wednesday? Valentine's Day themed. Stick around. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What you got Wednesday? What's the deal? Jake Scott rules, Ben's out to steal. Bozo takes their spinning around. Flush it down, flush it down.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Very happy Wednesday to everybody out there. It's Wednesday at 11:30, means it's time for What You Got Wednesday, where Christian and I will go head-to-head in 2 drafts, one sports-related, one not sports-related. And we'll put it out on the Snap Talk, as Jake likes to say. Have you vote on the winner. Christian, we always start with our sports draft. What is it today?
First, we got to hit last week's scores.
I was going to get to it.
Best
Especially
Jarens,
because I'm celebrating myself.
Best Jarens or Jacksons in sports. Ben, you won 60-40.
Nice.
And then best Catherine O'Hara movies, you won 65-35.
Okay, pretty close.
Clean sweep.
Relatively close, but a clean sweep. As always, that means I do not get the number 1 pick in either draft. That means, Christian, once again, you get the number 1 picks in the draft, and you're on a bit of a hot streak when you've filled in.
I filled in for you once and for Jake once. I won. I sweat both times.
You're 4-0.
So is that 4-0, 2-0?
You're 4-0 in the draft.
Either way, I've never lost.
You never lost.
Today, and you teased this with DJ, cuddling up in a minky blanket. Best celebrity sports couples.
Yeah, I hope you were following us on social media at KSL Sports. You got to see DJ and I tease that this was going to be the draft, and I already put out my first overall pick, I guess, unless Christian wants to take it because you do have the number 1 spot. But we did tease this was going to be available and giving you a chance by following us on social media to win a minky blanket, so make sure you do that. All right, where are you starting today, number 1 overall pick?
There's a lot of different ways to go with number 1 here.
So it's sports couples or celebrity couples where at least one half of the couple is a athlete.
Sports figure.
But it doesn't have to be both. Yes, sports figure I think is totally
because
fine.
my number 1 pick, I'm going to go with Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson. They are the it couple right now.
They really are, bizarrely. We have a 70. How old is How old is Bill Belichick? 74?
70, yeah.
76? The biggest celebrity sports couple right now involves a man who's almost in his 80s. It is
And
Bill.
she's an athlete, too. She's a recreational cheerleader.
She is. She's an intramural adult recreational cheer captain or associate. I don't know if she's a captain. Lieutenant captain. Shout out to Bill Belichick and Mrs. Hudson being the number 1 overall pick. All right, I will stick with my number 1 overall pick that I made on our social media post, and I will go with, in honor of Jake being gone, Andre Agassi and Brooke Shields. And I will tell you honestly, this was the first celebrity couple I think I was aware of in my childhood. You know, my parents weren't huge sports fans, but when there was a tennis major on TV, we'd get up in the morning and it would be on Sunday morning, Saturday morning. Well, I mean, Sunday if it was a final, obviously. And I remember watching it, and I remember thinking Andre Agassi was the coolest looking person I'd ever seen because he had the wig on. And then they would inevitably cut to the stands and the crowd, and Brooke Shields would be there. So give me Andre Agassi and Brooke Shields.
All right. I like the way my board's falling.
Working out
next,
for you.
the next big power couple in sports right now, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
It's actually the biggest sports couple right now, no question about it. Travis and Swift. Taylor taking a little bit of a backseat to Bad Bunny recently. It does feel like she's maybe been dethroned as the top musician on the planet. Certainly not the most talked about any longer. But her tour is over, and Bad Bunny's just getting his going at the Super Bowl. And then Travis Kelce's also just kind of washed. Well, he's good still. And the Chiefs will be relevant, but they didn't make the playoffs, so I think it makes sense why they weren't the number 1 overall pick. All right, I will go with the all-time greatest sports couple, and I'm going to go Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe. At one point, Marilyn Monroe was the most famous woman on the planet. Joe DiMaggio was a superstar for the New York Yankees at the height of the New York Yankees. So give me DiMaggio and Marilyn.
Okay, let's see here.
The board's not looking so good now, huh?
No, it is. It is. I have too many options. Okay, I'm just going to go in order of my board. I'm going to go with Tom and Giselle.
Okay. Ugly ending.
Messy ending. But while it lasted, they were the goals.
couple.
They were goals.
I do think traditionally it seems like, not always, but the athlete leaves the non-athlete in these relationships. I don't get the impression that that's what happened with Tom and Giselle. It sounds like Giselle fell in love maybe with somebody else or fell out of love with Tom. She also made more money than Tom, which is pretty wild. But for a long time, Giselle was making more money than Mr. Brady.
Well, and if you'll remember, there was a whole controversy of where Adam Schefter tweeted that Tom Brady was going to retire, and then Tom Brady announced that he was actually coming back for another year. There's a lot of speculation on whether or not that's what ruined the relationship.
That Giselle wanted time with Tom.
That Tom was going to retire,
Yeah,
but Adam
become a family
Schefter
man.
spoiled it, ruined it for Tom Brady, and because Tom wanted to stick it to Adam,
Yeah.
that ruined his wedding.
Wanted to announce it on his own.
Yeah.
Tough, Adam Schefter. That'd be tough if you ruined a celebrity couple. All right, I will go with the original disaster couple. And to be fair, Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe were a bit of a disaster couple because of some issues there, obviously. But the original major disaster couple in my life, I'm going with Lamar Odom and Khloe Kardashian. True insanity, cheating scandals, substance abuse issues, nothing to make light of, but all carrying over and taking place on a reality TV show. Lamar Odom, one of the weirdest people of all time. The Kardashians, obviously some of the weirdest people of all time. Give me Lamar and Khloe.
Not the first time Khloe could appear on this list.
No, at
we'll
all.
see
Yeah.
where this ends up going. Okay, next I'm going to go with David Beckham and Posh Spice.
Yep.
At one point, David Beckham was one of the most popular football, soccer players in the world.
The poster boy of the biggest sport on the planet.
And Posh Spice was one of the biggest pop stars in the world. And they were like, again, one of the real big celebrity couples, not just, a famous athlete and his wag, right? Like we are talking a real heavy hitter.
I used to work at a hotel locally, and it was the hotel that hosted the MLS teams. That's when the MLS teams came through. That's where they would stay. And the entire building was abuzz that David Beckham's team was staying at our hotel. And everybody knew that all of the players on the team were staying in our standard rooms, and that David specifically had gotten the the suite. Like it wasn't a hotel that had 10 suites. It was not the Grand America. MLS, I don't think could afford at the time the Grand America. I don't know if they can now. But David specifically got his own very fancy room apart from the rest of his teammates. And then when they all came down for breakfast, Mr. Beckham was not there. He was not celebrating or having a continental breakfast with the team. Shout out to David and Posh Spice. All right, I will go with, Lloyd will know this. Lloyd will remember her having the world in her hands. Justin Verlander and Kate Upton. At one point, Christian, I don't know if you remember this, Kate Upton was the it girl on the planet. Yeah.
Listen, I'll say this.
Do you know Kate Upton?
I was in middle school at
so
the height of her popularity.
Okay,
So I have a very, very good idea.
I mean, to the point
who
where
Kate
Lloyd,
Upton
I don't know
is.
if you can see it on the camera, simply did a crawling motion, which was her crawling out of the water or the swimming pool. And their story is hilarious. You actually can find the video online of them meeting for the first time. Verlander goes and talks to her. I think it's during a Tigers game. She's sitting right behind home plate or right behind the bench, and Verlander goes and talks to her, and they strike up a relationship. Shout out Kate Upton and Justin Verlander.
All right, man.
Is this your last pick?
This is my last pick. I have so many.
So do I.
So many honorable mentions. I mean, I'm gonna go with. Let's go with some young cats. Let's go Livy Dunn and Paul Skeens.
Okay, this is really young. This is it now, and because we don't have a baseball team, I wonder how many of our listeners actually know who Paul Skeens is. Like, if you're a baseball fan at all, you do. He's the best pitcher in baseball right now. He was a first-round pick. Was he the number 1 overall pick? I don't remember if he was. I don't think he was. Maybe he was. But, yes, he's the best pitcher in baseball. And the problem is he pitches for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
But if they don't know Paul, they got to know Livy. I mean, Livy Dunn is like the face of NIL and what that can do because she was a gymnast at LSU, but she was not even close to the best gymnast on their team. But because of her social media following, she was kind of almost like a cult following to the point where she was getting kind of harassed when even it happened here in Salt Lake City when they would go on the road for some of these meets. I mean, there were all these fans wanting to meet her. Most of them were boys wanting to heckle her, man. It was crazy stuff.
Paul was the number 1 overall pick, and then he got his number 1 overall pick in Livy Dunn. Good pick. All right, my turn. Last pick. Board is wide open again. I'm sure all of our listeners are screaming. They've got this guy. I could go cute. I could go niche. I'm going to go with infamous, and I will go with Dennis Rodman, and I'm going to go with Carmen Electra. You could have also gone Dennis Rodman and Madonna, but there's a real argument, or not argument, but maybe the biggest distraction during the Last Dance for Jordan, Pippen, and the Bulls was that Dennis Rodman was dating Carmen Electra at the time.
You could go Dennis Rodman and himself.
Yeah, Dennis Rodman married himself one time. Pretty amazing. But yeah, I'll go Dennis and Carmen. Though Madonna, inarguably a much bigger star than Carmen.
A lot of honorable mentions. I mean, we don't have a ton of time, but Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson.
Yep, another scandalous one.
A new one, Kim Kardashian and Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, just showed up at the Super Bowl. My favorite, very niche though, Baron Davis and Laura Dern was maybe the craziest. Like, what? You mean the lady from Jurassic Park and B. Diddy? They're dating? Yeah, they dated for a minute. Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union, huge, real celebrity power couple. Dwayne was maybe the second or third best player in the NBA for a stretch. Gabby Union, a huge star. And then one that probably predates you, Christian, Mia Hamm and Nomar Garciaparra. Nomar was huge when he was in Boston. And, still was after they traded him, but they did win the World Series right after they traded him. All right, what's our next draft?
Keeping it with
recap.
Okay.
Apologies.
I had the first pick. I went Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, Tom Brady and Giselle, David Beckham and Posh Spice, Livy Dunn and Paul Skeens. Ben, you went Andre Agassi and Brooke Shields, Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe, Lamar Odom and Khloe Kardashian, Justin Verlander and Kate Upton, and Dennis Rodman and Carmen Electra.
I think you're going to go to 5-0. I think you're going to win that draft.
Good one to have the first pick.
What's next?
Best rom-coms of all time, keeping it Valentine's themed.
Yeah, Valentine's Day coming up on Saturday. You want to watch your romantic comedy. Some good ones. Not a lot. I don't actually think this list is that deep, but I do think there's a lot of, fan favorites. There's a lot of, this is my personal favorite, even though they aren't necessarily lauded as great movies.
I'm going to go with 50 First Dates as number one.
Okay, wow.
I should have asked. You like to ask if there's a consensus number one,
I actually think there is.
You think there is?
50 First Dates.
Okay. I worry that you might take my next pick, but I'm a big fan of 50 First Dates.
I didn't have it on my list. In fact, I've never seen it. But this is Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
And she has dementia.
Yeah, she was in an accident. Every morning she wakes up and thinks that it's the day of her accident, so she doesn't remember what actually happened.
And he has to make her fall in love with him every day?
Every day, yeah.
It's like Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great movie. I'd definitely recommend it if you've never seen it. I can't believe you've never seen it.
I legitimately think this is like one of the great movies of our lifetime. Predates you. It was early in my life. The late Rob Reiner, though, this is one of the great movies of all time. And if you have not seen it, watch it. It is an A-plus movie on top of being a rom-com. It did set the design for every rom-com to follow, and it is When Harry Met Sally. When Harry Met Sally is legitimately great. It's funny, funny romance, good romance. When Harry Met Sally, no question about it. Top pick.
I will go with Crazy Stupid Love as my number 2. Love, obviously, the plot twist at the end. Like, you don't see that in rom-coms very often, and it's a genuinely funny movie.
Steve Carell, Emma Stone.
Ryan Gosling,
and what's her name? Oh, why can't I think of her name now? The redhead, who's very good. I think she has an Oscar. Why can't I think of her name? Who's the woman in it? Anyways.
I'm honestly spacing it.
I'll pull it up. I'll find it. Julianne Moore, who's very good in it. All right, I will go with more in your. Nah, but probably still predates you. But a lot of millennials love this movie. I'll go with 10 Things I Hate About You. It's based on Taming of the Shrew, Shakespeare. Great young Heath Ledger. Very funny movie. A little melodramatic at times for me, but I'll take 10 Things I Hate About You. Really well done.
That is a good one. Classic, like, high school movie, right?
Yeah.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah, that's
my
a
number
good
3
one.
pick.
That's really good. I like Forgetting Sarah Marshall better than your other 2 picks.
Another really, really funny movie.
I don't think Judd Apatow movies have aged particularly well. Most of them have not, and I think a lot of them are actually pretty crappy. He did a lot of rom-coms in the 2000s. I do think this holds up better than any of them.
Yeah, it took me a long time to watch it, and then after I finally did, I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I had never seen it before.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny.
It's really funny. It really does hold up extremely well, even if I think we've canceled 4 of the 5 main people in the movie.
Almost everybody in there.
Almost everybody has gotten canceled. The movie itself, the content of the movie holds up pretty darn well. All right, I'll go with another classic, and I will go with Princess Bride. Princess Bride, bizarre release, but really kind of got a second wind with VHS and has become an absolute cult classic that everybody has seen. And again, another Rob Reiner, absolute classic at his prime. So give me Princess Bride. You've seen Princess Bride, Christian?
I have, yeah. Good movie.
Okay.
Anybody want a peanut?
Yeah.
Okay. This one is a bit out of left field, I think.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Meet the Parents.
Okay, no, Meet the Parents is great.
I genuinely think... I don't know. I think this is one of Rob De Niro's best performances.
It is unfortunately signaling the demise of Robert De Niro's career. Like, once he started taking these payday comedies, it's too bad. It got too easy for him.
This
for
one
one
was
of our
good,
great actors.
but he
this one
mailed
is
it in
good.
the rest of them.
And then he was like, oh, great. I found a way to make whatever my salary is, 10 million, 8 million, 20 million. I don't know what he gets paid for these movies. But he's just, Dirty Grandpa and just all these absolutely trash comedy movies that he's made. Is not a great ending to one of the great actors of our time, but I do think Meet the Parents is legitimately funny, and he's funny in it. And they did a nice job of using kind of his persona to be the investigator. And yeah, that's funny. Good tension there. All right, I will go with one that I bet you like a lot, Christian. It is part of your generation, and probably got slept on because it came out during COVID. And so I wonder how many people saw it. It's very much a COVID movie, meaning it's small. It has 3 people in it, basically total. Palm Springs. Palm Springs also based on Groundhog Day. It's the same idea. That is, they wake up every day and they have started over and they're at a wedding, and Andy Samberg over and over and over is trying to avoid getting killed by a hitman while trying to woo one of the other wedding guests. And if you have not seen it, it's very, very funny. It makes me wonder why Andy Samberg's not a bigger celebrity.
I love Andy Samberg.
But
he's hilarious.
Palm Springs is really good. Watch it if you haven't seen it.
I'll wrap it up here with. I'll go with the breakup with Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston.
I hate this movie.
I know you and Jake have talked about how much you don't like it.
I don't like Vince Vaughn, and I don't love Jen Aniston either. So
the argument scenes between them. Like there's one scene when they're fighting about lemons. Or like doing dishes or something, doing chores. And she's like, I want you to want to do the chores. And he's like, why would I ever want to do the chores? Like that is so relatable to everybody in a relationship. Hilarious.
All right, my last pick. I'm going to go with one of my favorites. I know we have a listener who also was in this movie randomly, some Salt Lake City ties to it. And give me Punch Drunk Love. Another Adam Sandler movie, certainly not his most famous, but probably my favorite role of his. Paul Thomas Anderson's Punch Drunk Love.
Honorable mentions?
Lots of honorable mentions here. A bunch I didn't take. Sleepless in Seattle, but I think I got that covered a little bit with When Harry Met Sally. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Love that movie. Wedding Singer, another very good Adam Sandler. He's got a lot of rom-coms. That was kind of his thing. I really like Wedding Singer. I think that's his best Adam Sandler comedy. A classic, The Apartment, which I just rewatched, which is really, really great. If you haven't seen that, Christian, I would recommend. I think you'd like it. And another under-the-radar recent movie that people didn't like, but I thought was really good, Lisa Frankenstein, where she builds a boyfriend the same way you build Frankenstein and then kind of has to control him because he's a monster. So Lisa Frankenstein, if you haven't seen it.
Recap.
What about you? Honorable mentions?
Nah, Wedding Crashers, and then you named a few that I had as well. I took 51st Dates with the first overall pick, and then Crazy Stupid Love, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Meet the Parents, and The Breakup. You went When Harry Met Sally, 10 Things I Hate About You, Princess Bride, Palm Springs, and Punch Drunk Love.
A lot of good rom-coms. If you haven't seen any of those, I would recommend, I don't know, don't watch The Breakup, but watch all the rest of them. If there's one on those lists you have not seen and you want to watch something for Valentine's Day, a classic. All right, we'll wrap up the show next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airwaves, talking sports.
Message for Ben. This is Nathan. Listening to you talk about Bobby Marks and the Jazz and calling in the question, the integrity of the league. I've heard a lot of people talk about how the Jazz should be punished. And I'm like, okay, punish the Jazz, but you gotta punish all the other tanking teams if you're going to punish them today, if they're not breaking the player participation policy. But you can't just punish the Jazz, in my opinion, this year without punishing the other teams, because to me that's selection bias. What do you think?
Nathan, thanks for calling in using the call-in feature. Download the KSL Sports app. You see the button in the bottom left, and you're welcome to do that. We try and play them at the end of every show. Yeah, that's the biggest problem with what Bobby Marks did. Calling out the Utah Jazz as if they're the face of this, or as if they're the one. He says at the end of that quote, drop the hammer. What are you talking about? This is a system that all 30 NBA owners agreed to and the players agreed to. Like these are CBA agreements between that take a long time to hammer out with very high-priced lawyers. Like this is something that the NBA said we're going to allow this. So yeah, the idea of singling out the Utah Jazz for doing it and then much less trying to punish them for it or making them the face of it would be ridiculous. Yeah, if you want to say we're not going to allow it going forward and teams who violate it, we are going to, quote, drop the hammer, I think that's totally fine. But trying to say that any one team is doing it worse than others or is more responsible for it is insane. Join Scotty Friday, noon to 3 at Tim Daly Mazda in Sandy, 10785 South Auto Mall Drive. That's Scott Gerard at Tim Daly Mazda. Speaking of integrity of the NBA, the Indiana Pacers injury report is out. I don't know who they're playing tonight. They're playing the Nets. That it tells you exactly what it is because the Nets are also a team that's trying to hold on to their draft pick. Here's the Indiana Pacers integrity preserving injury report. Micah Potter, former Jazz legend, questionable left ankle sprain. Jarris Walker, questionable illness. TJ McConnell, out, right hamstring soreness. Andrew Nembhard, out, lower back injury management. Aaron Nesmith, out, lower back soreness. Pascal Siakam, out, left hamstring soreness. Ivica Zubac, who, by the way, played every game for the Clippers leading up to the trade deadline, out with a left ankle sprain. Last night, the same Indiana Pacers, Pascal Siakam had 30 points. Micah Potter had 10 points. Andrew Nembhard had 24 points. TJ McConnell had 13 points. So last night, mere hours ago, not only were these guys able to play, they played in overtime and beat a playoff team in the New York Knicks on the road. They were healthy enough to go out there and win a high-level NBA game, their rival, in fact. And not 12 hours later, all of these guys' illnesses. Not questioning the integrity of the NBA. This is not the Pacers' fault. This falls on the Utah Jazz. But that injury report comes out. Good job, Bobby Marks. Scotty G is coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.